Hello everyone, my name is Satyam Rai. I, along with my group members Aniket and Arbaz, are going to present our topic, that is signal compression. Next slide, please. So, coming to the table of contents, where we will discuss in briefly what we are going to cover in our presentations. So, first is about the introduction of signal compressions and what basically are signals. Then, what is signal compression? Why do we need signal compression? Then how is signal compression done, where we will discuss about the different methods of it, and then examples of where signal compression is seen and practical examples, and then conclusion of the same. Next slide, please. So coming to the introduction part. So signal is basically defined as a function of one or more independent variables such as time, position, temperature, etc. And signals are meant to convey information about the state and behavior of the system. So we can say the main objective of signal processing is to preserve the information that is contained in the signal and to extract or manipulate it whenever it is necessary. So we can say uh, signal compression is one of the most important or crucial part in designing multimedia application in today's digital age. This is because signals carry a huge amount of data, and this might be difficult to transmit. Also, such a huge amount of data can result in delay while transmitting the same signal. So signal compression is basically introduced to overcome these difficulties. And the general idea behind signal compression is to reduce the size of the signal that is to be transmitted. So next slide, please. Now we'll look at what is signal compression. So formal definition of signal compression is that it is a process where redundant information present in a signal is identified and deleted. But generally, we can say that it is a process where signal is compressed to a meaningful size through which it can be sent easily without a lot of delay. Now, the two main techniques that are used in signal compression that we'll discuss further is lossless and lossy compression. So in lossless compression methods, no information is lost due to the compression of the signal, which means that the original signal can be recovered exactly from the compressed signal. Whereas in lossy compression, some amount of information which usually is less relevant is lost due to the compression. So it means that the reconstructed signal is not exactly same as the original one, but is still an okay approximation which can be used for general applications. Present in it, while the less relevant information is discarded. Next slide, please. So now we'll look at why do we need signal compression. So as we discussed that most practical signals carry a huge amount of data. So for instance, if we take an example of a gray level image, which is of dimension 512 into 512, and let's say for instance, it has 8 bits per pixel. So the amount of bits that it will have is 2,097,152. Now, if we take an example of colored image, then the amount of bits that it has becomes 3 times. So we can see that an image has such a large amount of bits that need to be transmitted. So for efficient storage of digital signals, it is often necessary to compress this data into smaller size. So in most, also in most of the signals, some percentage of data is not relevant and can be discarded. Also, the key information can be extracted even after the compression. So one more important point is that compressed signals require less bandwidth for transmission. So these are the reasons why signal compression is a very useful concept in signal processing. Now, Arbaz will continue with the methods of signal compression.
Okay, so next we have how signal compression is done. So signal compression can be done on either a 1D signal, which is an audio or speech signal, or a 2D image signal. The signal compression in case of 1D signal can be either dynamic range or data compression. Dynamic basically refers to the difference in level of the softest and the loudest part in the signal. Then we have data compression, which can be either lossy or lossless. The dynamic range compression is basically done by music producers to produce the different variants like the bass, hip hop, and jazz music of the same music. Then we have dynamic range compression. So over here we have 6 types. 3 of them are downward compression, upward compression, and parallel compression. In downward compression, it basically over here what we do is the signal component at a particular time instant, which has a strength in decibel greater than a particular threshold, is reduced to the threshold. So what I mean by that is, let's suppose we have a strength of a signal at a particular time instant as 10, and the threshold is set to 5. So the strength at that time instant exceeds the threshold. So what we do over here is we decrease the strength by 5 decibel to match the threshold at 5 decibel. So it basically reduces the dynamic of that particular audio signal. Then in upward compression, what we do is we, instead of decreasing the higher part of the signal, we increase the strength of the lower part of the signal. So if we have a single component at a particular time instant having a strength of, let's say, 3, and the threshold is 5, so it's less than the threshold. So what we do is we increase the strength of the signal by 2, matching the threshold as 5, and thus we are also decreasing the dynamic of the signal, because earlier, let's say, we have the highest strength as 10 and the lowest part was 3, so now it's 10 minus 5, which is 5. So we are decreasing the dynamics by 2 decibels. Then over here we have parallel compression. So what we do over here is, let's suppose you have a audio signal. So we make a copy of that signal. The music composer or the producer does all the processing on the duplicated signal. Like, let's suppose he wants to increase the pitch at a particular time instant, or for a particular time segment, or decrease the pitch, or make it quieter for the particular time segment, or make some changes in the amplitude. So he does that on that particular copy of that signal. After doing all the changes and processing, he basically merges or mixes the two signals together to get the resultant signal, which is the final copy of the audio signal. So it can be seen in a diagram over here. Then after that we have the data compression. So it can be either lossy or lossless. In the lossy compression, we have the following formats. It can be either MP3, it can be either AAC, which is advanced audio coding, or it can be either OGG Vorbis. In the lossless part, it can be either FLAC or ALAC. FLAC stands for Free Lossless Audio Codec, and ALAC stands for Apple Lossless Audio Codec. So in MP3 format, it basically follows the principle of perceptual coding or psychoacoustic coding. So let's say if we have a uncompressed audio file of size 30 megabytes. So after converting it to an MP3 format, it can have a file size of 3 megabytes, which is a compression of 10 times or by 10 times of the original copy of the audio file. The two signals may not be the same, but the difference in the two signals would be unrecognizable. After that, we have the advanced audio coding. So it's the successor of the MP3 format, which was introduced earlier. It is used in Apple iTunes and other Apple applications. It produces a better sound quality as compared to MP3 for the same bit rate. So you can say it's a better alternative for the MP3 format, which was introduced earlier. After that, we have the FLAC, which is Free Lossless Audio Codec. So it's the format for lossless compression. It can reduce the size of the file by 50 to 60%. It can also reconstruct the original file from the compressed format, hence the name lossless. So over here we have 2 stages in compression. So in the first stage, we basically split the signal into n fixed size blocks. After that, we represent each block by an approximated mathematical polynomial equation of, let's say, n or k degree. After that, the difference in the signal which can be produced by the polynomial and the original block signal is then computed, and it is then stored by using rice coding. So we are taking care of all the different information which are present in the signal by using this. After that, we have the decompression of the compressed signal. So over here, we basically convert the approximated polynomial equation to an equivalent waveform. Then after that, we add the residual signal, which was encoded earlier using rice coding after decoding it, and add that to the waveform. After getting the resultant block representation of that particular block, we calculate all these signals for all the n blocks and then concatenate them to get the original signal. This original signal is basically the signal obtained is the exact replica of the original signal. Hence, there's no loss of information or data. Then this is the diagram for the data compression. So you have the different steps like sampling, compression, and then storing. And then after that, in the reconstruction phase, we get the recompressed signal. We transform it using the same steps in reverse order, and then get the original signal. Then we have this part, which will be discussed by Aniket.
Thank you, Arbaz. So now I will be discussing about the applications where signal compression is used. So first of all, speech, audio, image, and digital video. These are the fields where signal compression is used in a practical way, and it has a great impact. So, like for example, in image compression, the quality of image and its size is decreased by reducing the number of pixels. Next slide, please. So here I demonstrated image compression. But so here I took a Ferrari car image. So here the original size of the image is 35 kb, which is the left part of the screenshot, and then the compressed image is the right part of the screenshot. And here, as we can see, the size is 27.1 kilobytes, which is reduced. So it's proves that in signal compression, our size of the signal is reduced. Next slide, please. So this was the original image which of Ferrari car which I took. Next slide, please. And this is the compressed image. So here, as in the compressed image, we can still identify the Ferrari car logo, and thus state that this car is of Ferrari brand. So thus we can state that it is a lossless type of compression. Next slide, please. So here we took an example of lossy compression. So here we first of all downloaded an wave file whose size initially was 9.92 MB, and then we converted it into MP3 file, and the resultant size of the resulting file was 1.95 MB. And here the conversion of wave file into MP3 file denotes the lossy compression. Next slide, please. So the another real life application of signal compression is in the GNSS signal processing. So basically nowadays the emergence of advanced GNS signal processing technology is enhanced by the signal compression technique. So let's first discuss what GNSS receivers do. So basically here GNSS receivers are responsible for processing L-band signals in space which come from the GNSS satellites. So here basically each GNSS satellite transmit a continuous signal at the gigahertz range. Also, this signal is configured with periodic digital code, which is also edited with a data message. So now let's see how signal compression is useful in GNSS signal processing technology. So basically, the signal compression technique reduces the computational power by reducing the number of operations to be performed in the GNSS signal processing for the case of the GNSS receivers. So it is stated that if signal compression won't be used, then the number of operations would be of the order of 10 to power 7 to 10 to power 8, which is reduced to a small vector having only a few tens of samples due to the signal compression technique. Also here the compression requires only simple additions to be made. Thus here, as the compression technique is not so doesn't take huge computational power, also after compression our GNSS signal processing is done using less computational power. So here the subsequent resulting technology is used widely in different fields and also with less computational power to be required. Next slide, please. So basically in this blog, we had a detailed discussion about signal compression in the field of digital signal processing. Also, we looked at why there is a need of signal compression, and we also discussed about different signal compression techniques. We also discussed the different applications as well as the real life examples of signal compression, like compression of images, audio files, etc. And also in the case of GNSS receivers. Next slide. So these were the references which our group referred. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.